Okay, so welcome to the live Q&A. This is an extra special one today because we have Abby Herman of Right Solutions going to lead Devon through a map it out session with content. So I'm going to be quiet here and let Abby introduce herself and then let you two get started. So Abby, do you want to tell our viewers who you are and what's the work that you do?
Yes. Sorry, I'm over here. I'm looking at Facebook because I am going to share my screen in a minute. So I wanted to make sure I had this up so that everybody can see my screen when it's time.
Yay.
So yeah, I'm excited to be here. I am Abby Herman. My business is Right Solutions. I help service-based businesses create content plans and then figure out how to create that content themselves, or often I do it for them also, to help market their business online. And I have to say that I've done a million of these sessions. I've never done it live like this before, so I'm a little nervous, but that's okay. It'll be fun. I'm excited for it.
Me too. Thank you so much for doing this live. And Devon, do you want to give an intro to who you are, where you live, and what's the work that you do?
Sure. So my name is Devon Pelto. I am trying to niche my yoga / tarot / coaching business down. So I recently had a consultation with Shannon that blew my mind and changed my world. And I won this, and I'm super excited to be here and just get started.
All right, perfect. Well, I am going to leave you two to it, but I will be here. If you have any questions, just shout at me.
Okay, perfect. So before we get started, I want just to kind of give everyone who's watching a little bit of background about what the Map It Out session is and some of the pre-work that Devon and I did ahead of time, just to be ready for this. So a Map It Out session basically is a 90-minute session where I meet one-on-one with clients, and we dive into what they should be talking about online based on like what their business goals are, or any launches or anything that they have coming up. So Devon and I actually met last Thursday to get a little bit of some pre-work done so that we could just dive right in, because usually the session starts with about 20-ish minutes or so, 20 to 30 minutes of me asking a lot of questions and getting a lot of background and all of that so I can understand the business better. So we did that already so that you guys can just kind of see, what's going on, and we can get right into it. And like Devon mentioned, so she is looking to kind of niche down and really focus on the purpose of this call is to figure out what it is she should be talking about, where she should be talking about it, and then start to build out a content plan. And I'm going to kind of show her show all of you what my process is for doing that, for figuring out how to create a bunch of content about one topic without like repeating yourself over and over again, because your audience doesn't want that, right? So let's jump right into it. Devon, oops, let me move that over there. So I am going to share my screen a few times so that everybody can kind of see something like what we're working on. And then Devon's going to get a copy of all of this after the fact. So one of the things that I want to talk about first is I call them your zones of genius. And basically, when you're trying to develop content ideas, you need to have like a bank of information, of comments, or of topics and things that you can pull from. And so I am going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to really expand your zones of genius, Devon. So when we talked on Thursday, you said, and by the way, if anybody has any questions at any point, use the question, the Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen, or you can pop them into Facebook. I probably will not, I'm not going to see them until the end, but I will leave time at the end for to answer some questions. So Devon, give us everybody watching a little bit of background about your business and how you're shifting from you know, all of these different pieces and trying to pull them together into like a cohesive business. Because we talked about a lot about like one-on-one coaching last week, the conscious connection, you've got the corporate piece. So give us just kind of a quick background of that.
Yes, and I will try to keep it brief because it's something. So yeah, basically my background is I have been doing different kinds of readings, like tarot readings, energetic readings, and energy work for probably about 5 years now. 2 years ago-ish, I got certified to teach yoga, and I've been teaching for about a year and a half now. And it's just been such a beautiful complement and focus for the past year and a half that I've had. And so as I've continued to do all of my other work and add in yoga, I have come to stumble upon corporate yoga. And as the more that I'm stumbling, like really finding my feet in the corporate yoga world, like I've really started to enjoy it. And something that I've noticed about all of the things that I am doing, whether it's tarot readings, whether it's energy work or yoga, it's really the coaching that I really feel inspired from and where I really see the most impact for the individual or the group. And so I've kind of been playing with the idea, thank you Shannon for helping me get to this, focusing more in on corporate yoga, not only for getting me in to do more weekly yoga, but also to maybe hone in on that population for my coaching side that I'm really starting to push now as well. And my whole goal is to really tie in this conscious connection thing, and that I've been calling myself a connection coach. So like helping people start to make more conscious decisions throughout their day-to-day life that leads them into a more fulfilling and balanced life that they actually want to be living, instead of just thinking like, well, I have to do this to make the bills because this is how I've always done it. We're actually like diving quite deeply into finding out subconscious beliefs and blockages and small action steps that we can start to take and working with them along that way. So that's in a nutshell.
Awesome, thank you. And also just one of the things that we talked about on Thursday too, and I just want to say this for everybody also. So like when you think about where you want to focus your business, it's, you know, one of the things that Devon and I talked about was coaching is like, or not coaching, but the corporate, they pay and they pay well. And so sometimes, and I know this was true, and I know that I'm in a completely different industry, but sometimes you have to, for your own peace of mind, you have to go for what's going to pay the bills while you're building up this other piece. And so we talked a little bit about like having some of the content focus be on the corporate piece, even though like ideally you use the corporate piece to bring in the one-on-one coaching clients, like that's okay. Like everybody needs to do what they need to do in their business so that you can get the bills paid, right? Like you need to do what you need to do. So think about, as you are, and this is for everyone, as you're planning out your content, think about like, what are the things, like what is your ultimate goal at the end, like your end game goal? For Devon, that's to have these one-on-one coaching clients. That's where she wants to focus. But how are you going to get there? And I usually do it like backwards. So we have this ultimate goal. She doesn't have a specific launch date. She doesn't have a like this deadline date in mind. A lot of times if you have a new program that you're offering or course, you want to focus on that deadline date and then kind of back it up from there. But think about, you know, where do you want to go and then what's it going to take to get there? So I want to share, so this is actually something that Devon started on her own, and we're going to talk through this. And let me, I just want to make sure, let's see. Share. Okay, sorry. Oh, Shannon, it says that host disabled participant screen sharing. Can you give me access to share my screen so that I can do that? And if not, that's okay. We can still walk through this. Ooh, looks like you did. Yay. That was quick. Okay, here we go. So this is the Zones of Genius work, and I'm just looking at my other screen to make sure that everybody can see it on Facebook. So this is the Zones of Genius work. And so basically what I do, and let me make it bigger because I can see that's really small. So basically Devon's identified 3 main kind of umbrella topics. And these are the 3 main topics that she wants to focus on in her business: the conscious connection, the corporate yoga, and the tarot. And so what we're going to do together is we are going to hone in on some specific topics. So when I look at, now, so I am not a yoga teacher. I don't practice yoga regularly. And I actually think that that is going to be a huge benefit in this case, because I'm going to ask the questions of the similar to people who she wants to target. So she wants to target people who want to make better decisions in their life and better their lives, and who doesn't want to do that. However, some of the language is a little foreign to me, and so that will help you with your marketing message. Knowing what words your ideal audience is using, the questions that they're asking will really help you hone in on, it's really going to help you hone in on your language that you use. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I want to talk about how you come up with your ideas. So when I look at the corporate yoga column here, so these are ideas that Devon put together. And so I want to talk about how to maximize the idea. So for example, desk yoga. So desk yoga is this big, giant topic that incorporates like so many different things, different exercises, why it's important, how to, how to sit. Maybe it includes, some ergonomics and where your keyboard should be in your chair and all of that, and the benefits of standing at your desk versus sitting. So there's so many different things that you could talk about with that one topic. And so when you are creating your topic ideas, I want you to think about all of the questions that somebody's going to ask about that one topic. So we're going to kind of go through that a little bit. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I want to show you how this works. So let's take the, let's take the idea of desk yoga. So Devon, what are some things that you can talk about in relation to desk yoga? And as you're talking, I'm going to be typing. For right now, you can kind of ignore what I'm typing, and then we'll come back. I'm just going to kind of jot down ideas as you're speaking.
Sure. So you hit on a few. Posture is really big with that, and it's something that we talk about a lot in actual corporate yoga. So that would be, and honestly, we could even go into that a little bit further of talking about why you want better posture and what it actually means and what muscles. Like we could go many layers with that. Also making like a quick series of different postures they could do at their desk was kind of my idea for a content share thing, of like maybe just doing little stick figures. So I was just using it as a resource for not only the individuals, but for the companies to actually share with their employees, whether they're showing up to a corporate yoga class or not.
What about exercises that people can do? Are there, so aside from the tips, do you have exercises that people can do? Maybe it's like back pain.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's so many different things you can do at a desk, which is why now that you've said how broad it is, I'm like, oh yeah, it's very broad.
What about like a standing desk versus a sitting desk? Is there a benefit to one versus the other?
Oh yeah, that would be a good topic as well. And being able to switch between the two. And it could also change how you use the desk as a prop as well if you're doing yoga at your desk.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, so do you see how, I don't know if you can see my screen the way you're situated, but do you see how like I took that one idea and there's 3, 4, 5, there's 8 different possible pieces of content. And actually there's a whole bunch more because these we can even dive deeper into them. Like for example, the quick tips, using your desk as a prop. You could do video. You could have videos on on what to do. And then I added this at the bottom where I said resource guide. And I did that because in order to have direct access to your audience at all times, you want to have an email list. And if you want to attract corporate clients or any clients that you want to attract, having a resource that's really valuable for them is key. So having a posture guide, so this could be something that you offer to HR departments in different corporations. And it's something that you could even just email to them so that they have it, but it elevates your expertise level by offering something like this. And it gets you in front of people. And if you have your logo on it, you're not just getting in front of the corporate people, you're getting in front of the employees at the corporation too. So having a posture guide that they can use maybe when they're onboarding new customer or new employees, maybe it's the posture guide is something that you give out at when you work with corporate clients, when you go into their organizations. So you can do a lot of different things with these. So this could be a PDF, like several pages long, with maybe you get somebody to take pictures of you doing the different exercises, or like don't do this and sit like this, and here's how to get your shoulders back and all of that. So it could be a really handy guide. You could also include links to YouTube videos within that PDF. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this, and repurposing your content kind of all over the place. But this is a great way to grow your email list by using that. What's that?
I love that idea. That's great.
Awesome. Okay, good. Let's do one more of these. I want to talk about, let's talk about the tarot. How about clarity on beliefs? So tell me what you mean by that, and then let's talk about some topics, some content topics you could build around that.
Sure, yeah. So this comes up a lot in a variety of work, but especially tarot readings, where it's as if, since we're like basically in utero, we're collecting all of these ideas about who we are and about how the world works and about how we should or should not act. And so we're collecting all of these beliefs, these ideas, and we're putting them into this little backpack. And then we're adults and we've never looked at this backpack, and it's really heavy. And so a lot of the times when I'm talking about clarity on beliefs, it are these things that are so subconscious to us at this point that they are filtering our perception of ourselves and of the world and how we interact in the world without us really being fully conscious of it at this point. So we use things like tarot readings to look into different aspects of the being of the person and look at, okay, well, what are beliefs that you're holding on to that are holding you back? What are beliefs that your caretakers gave you that aren't really accurate or even relevant to you? So different ways of really finding out what are your beliefs and how is that affecting your lifestyle. And once we find those beliefs, we can clear out the ones that no longer are serving you. And then we can replace them with new habits, new beliefs. And that's a journey that we will be on for probably most or all of our lives. But it's a journey worth doing so that we can be making these conscious connections and conscious choices that lead us to a life that we're excited to live.
Okay, awesome. All right, these first two were just me trying not to forget what you were saying. But okay, so clarity on beliefs. So identifying preconceived notions about life, what beliefs you need to let go of. So, and that was speaking to like when you were talking about all of the things that we've learned like over life and, you know, throughout our lives, and having those preconceived notions, how it impacts your lifestyle, cleaning it up. So these are all different topics that you could use around just this one, clarity on beliefs. And this, I love this, that you said this at the very end. So how to make more conscious choices goes over here to the conscious connection. And so everything can be interconnected. So all of the pieces of content and all of the ideas, we can find ways to connect everything together so that it feels, even though one-on-one work with this conscious connection, one-on-one work and yoga, the corporate yoga and the tarot all feel like three very different pieces of your business, it's still under your business. It's still, you know, under this one umbrella. So you can find ways to fit everything together so that it feels really really natural. So let's talk about this really quick and get some ideas down. So tell me what you mean, because I am not in this industry. So tell me what you mean by conscious connection. And if you were talking to someone who is in one of your corporate yoga classes, they come to the class, maybe they're feeling a little lost and all of that. How would you talk to them about conscious connection and what you could do for them?
Yeah, so conscious connection is kind of that umbrella term for everything that I love to dive deeper on. So this might come up as having a conscious connection with the self, of like how we're actually feeling. And that's going to play into those beliefs that we just talked about. That's going to play in our day-to-day decision making. That's going to spiral into how we're consciously connecting with others, because if we're not fully connected with ourselves and in that realm of clarity, at least working on it, then we have a very blurred perception of our relationships, and we might be in more reaction than response mode. Other ways of consciously connecting, like we are very much connected to earth. We're made of earth. We eat the earth. We use water, like for everything. And so coming back to those kind of roots, and we talk about that a lot in yoga as well, is like grounding down, being able to use all of this extra energy that we build and put it somewhere, give it back to the earth to recycle it. So really, it's just everything comes down to connection. And if we can see all of the different connections that we are already making just kind of naturally, and make those more conscious, make those more in alignment with what we're truly wanting to create, whether it's the person that we are trying to create for ourselves, or the lifestyle we're trying to create, or relationships we're trying to create, or how we handle change and transitions. I get a lot of that as well. Bringing that all back into alignment with the clarity and the conscious connection to self.
Okay, awesome. That's a lot.
I could talk about that literally like for the next 2 weeks.
That's awesome. What if I said, so I'm still this corporate yoga student of yours, in, you know, we get done with the class, and I come up to you and I say something like, you know, I'm just like, I enjoy the yoga. I feel like it's helping me, but I'm still feeling really disconnected. What can I do to help feel more connected to myself? What can I do to get more out of this yoga practice? What would you tell me? Like, as someone who knows nothing about connectedness or chakras or anything like that, like, I guess what I want you to do is sell me on one-on-one coaching with you. what would that look like? Like, how would you kind of talk me through that? And I'm totally putting you on the spot for this, sorry. I want to get like a little more clarity and a little more language.
Sure, yeah, and so with my corporate clients, my language does tend to morph into language that they might be more familiar or comfortable with. So if somebody approached me about that, then I would say, well, I happen to also be a coach, a connection coach. And there are different practices, there are different methods, and there are different ways that we can find more clarity on why you might feel disconnected. And so if you book a one-on-one with me, we'll be able to dive deeper into that and really focus in on what you are specifically needing and what practices we can get you and start incorporating in your daily lifestyle that might start to help you bring that connection back or something like that.
Give me an example of like how you would help someone tweak what they're doing on a day-to-day basis in order to feel more connected. Give me a couple of examples.
Sure. Okay. So waking up first thing in the morning, don't grab your phone. Just take a couple of breaths in the morning and just kind of setting yourself up on the right page, right? Ah, I woke up. How lovely. Oh, my bed is so comfortable. How lovely. Now I get to get up and take a nice warm shower. So even just a step of like waking up and changing a habit from connecting with everything outside of yourself and connecting inside of yourself first. Another example might be using 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes of your lunch break to walk outside and notice a tree or just sit in the grass for a minute and just breathe there. Using small periods of time for a specific focus that doesn't have to do with work or phone or anyone else, just honing in and coming back to the self. Do you want more?
No, that's perfect. So what you just did, like the things that you just explained, those are in like my language. That's the language that a lay person who doesn't have experience in this, that's how you need to talk to them, because we don't understand like the connectedness. Yes, I know that there are people who, in that corporate space who have a little bit more of that background, but to really like talk to them from using the language that they use. Like, I'm stressed out all the time. I never have time to do this. And, I wake up in the morning and I'm on like first thing, or, people with young kids, they never feel like they have space to do their own thing. Or I mean, talk to them in their language, so that, because the more you talk to them in their language, the deeper you can go with them, because the more interested they're going to be. Because, oh yeah, like that's exactly how I feel. Like my teenager wants me to pull my hair out half the time, and I don't know how to take a step back so I can react to her the right way. Totally me sometimes. So things like that, talk to them like they talk to you, especially if they are just not aware and they just don't know how to even talk about it, So if you notice, like at the beginning, so yeah, Devon and I met last week, but I purposely, like, there were certain questions I purposely didn't ask because I wanted to come into this fresh and not really know a few things, because that's where your audience is coming from. And that goes for any kind of yoga practice. If, it doesn't matter what kind of yoga you're teaching or practicing, or what level of spirituality you work with your clients on, talk to them from where they're coming from, because people like me, like, we want help, but we don't know how to ask for it because we don't really know what we need. We don't really know like what's even out there. When I look at it from my own perspective of, and this is like just a business perspective, when I was a teacher for 13 years before I came to do this full time, And this was in 2013. I came and I was running this online business, and I had no idea that like Facebook groups existed and that there were things called business coaches where I could hire somebody to help me. And, instead of asking my dad for business advice, who's like in his 70s and has never, been active online, but you really have to like speak to them from where they're coming from to educate them along the way. And then the more you educate them, the deeper you can get with the content that you're creating. So there's always going to be like different levels of content that you can put out there. Some for the people who have been following your journey for a while, some people who are brand new and are just getting introduced to this whole world. So think about it in that perspective. All right, I am going to shift so what I'm going to do now is, so we have some ideas, and what I want to do now is take some of these ideas and start plugging them into it's a calendar, but it's not really a calendar. I'll show you the document in just a second, but I want you, Devon, I want you to do this for all of these topics and even come up with more topics. And anybody who's watching, figure out what your main topics, the umbrella topics are, and then go deeper with them. This is just for the desk yoga, and we could come up with probably 20 more topics for that. This is just for the clarity on beliefs, and we could come up with 20 more things. I'm going to put this over to the side here. So we're going to like go back to elementary school. And I want, if you noticed as I was typing, I have a lot of these question words in there: who, where, who, what, when, where, why, how. I try to come up with as many different questions as you can, because those are the questions that your audience is asking, and those are the questions that they want the answers to. And that is exactly what is going to attract them to you, because you're educating them. It's exactly what's going to pique their interest so that they ask you more questions. And I actually have a guide that I can send you, and I was trying to grab the link right before this and it's not working, so I'll drop it in later, or I'll give it to Shannon so she can send it out to anyone who registered. But I have a guide that teaches you how to survey your audience. So, and I have a blog post on it, so I'll get that over to Shannon. But basically, I recommend you, if you're struggling with ideas, if you don't know what your top level ideas are, survey your audience. Send an email to people who are on your list, although don't survey your entire list. Pick and choose. People who have come to your classes, who have hired you, people who you want to have come to your class, people who are in your personal life who you know could use some of your expertise. Send the survey to them and ask them for feedback on what you're doing and what you want to put out to the world. The more you ask, the more likely you are to actually create the content that people want and need to see and hear. So I will get that information to Shannon, and then as soon as I can. All right, so I am going to move this over, and we're going to work on this. So this is kind of how I start to build out content plans for clients. And Devon, correct me if I'm wrong. I think these were the top things that we identified: blog, a possible YouTube channel, right? Having some videos.
Right.
And then your email, and then social media. I always put it there because we'll just like do some kind of high level ideas for social. We probably won't go too deep with that. But basically, what I like to do is come up with a theme for each month. And you can do this by week, by month, by quarter. I start with the month because I think it's easier to see how things kind of flow together when you do that. And then you can adjust and tweak it however you want. But let's talk about, so let's pick like one of the ideas that was in the spreadsheet. do you want to do, we could do like desk yoga, we could do something more like connectedness. What feels good for you to build a plan around?
Let's do one under the connectedness, because I think that's where it's hard for me to really bring it down to like those things that I so naturally know, but I forget other people don't know them.
Perfect. Okay. How about let's do connection to self.
Okay.
Let's talk about that because we have a lot of ideas here. And just to be clear, so this connection to self is language that you're going to use to connect to the people that you want to attract for one-to-one coaching. So the goal this month, for this month, month one, whatever it is one-on-one coaching. I don't remember if we talked about it. I don't think we did. Well, we didn't. What day of the week feels best for you when it comes to sending an email out to your audience? And keep in mind too that ultimately the goal is to be worked ahead and planned ahead. So it's not like, so if you say Monday, that doesn't mean midnight, Sunday night, you're frantically writing your email. You already have your email planned out, weeks in advance. Weeks plural in advance.
I don't know if it's markedly sound, but I feel like I get my most emails on Monday, especially Monday morning. So like I was thinking maybe like midweek or even like Friday. Well, Friday, I guess they're not opening their emails over the weekend if it's corporate people. But I've always liked the idea of Wednesday because I feel like it's less of a rush of email and they're halfway through their week and maybe realizing how much help they might need in their life.
Okay, that's perfect. And I think that that's a good way to think about it. That's perfect. So I put down Wednesday, we're going to call that email day. That doesn't mean it's set in stone. So if you do that for a little while and you're seeing that people aren't opening the email, you can always change. Like there is nothing, because this is your business, you guys. You get to make the call, you get to make the decision, and if it's not working for you, change it. Totally, totally fine. You're not going to freak out your subscribers, and you don't have to tell them you're changing. Hi, Kat. So you're getting, you don't have to tell them you're making the change. Just make the change. Okay, so I'm going to just make the command decision that your blog is going to, actually, let's do this. Yeah, your blog is going to come out on Tuesday, and your YouTube video is going to come out on Monday, and you can always change this. And the reason I'm making this decision, you want your YouTube video to come out before your blog, because ideally your blog and your YouTube video, or Facebook Live or whatever, ultimately those two are complementary. And so you can take it, because your YouTube video is live, you can embed that YouTube video into your blog and so when you send people to your blog, you're essentially sending them to your YouTube video also. And you want to have your YouTube videos, you want to get the majority of your views in the first 24 to 48 hours. So if you publish your YouTube video at, say, 2 p.m. on Monday, and then your blog comes out at 6 a.m. on Tuesday, you've already shared your YouTube video with your not your subscribers, but your audience on social media. So you've already shared, and then you're going to embed that video into your blog post for Tuesday morning, and you're going to share your blog post on Tuesday. So then basically you're double sharing your YouTube video without annoying your audience with multiple posts about the exact same thing, because your video and your blog complement each other. They're not duplicating. We're not duplicating the content here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Okay. So let me click back over to the ideas. Okay, so we're talking about connection to self. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm like scrolling through I'm looking through the content ideas on the spreadsheet. So let's talk about, because I really liked this, and I know I need help with this too. I think a lot of people do. The whole like figuring out why you're so disconnected first thing in the morning. Like I know that, you know, people laying in bed scrolling through social media causes stress. When you have other things on your agenda and on your mind versus first thing in the morning versus taking care of what needs to be done at home. Like if you work a 9-to-5 job, you know, you got to get yourself out of the house. You've got to get your kids out of the house. You need to pack lunches. You know, the dog pooped on the carpet, whatever it is. I mean, there's so many other things going on. So what do you think, like just thinking of it from a blog perspective, what is, actually, let's take it from this perspective. A blog post on like the top 5 things that you need to do in your, you know, first thing in the morning. I mean, would that be like how to like top 5 things to connect yourself in the morning or to feel more connected, or what do you think about a blog post like that, or a topic? Is that something that you can write on?
And making sure that they know they can pick one to start with and you don't have to do all 5.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So 5 things you need to do every morning to feel more connected. And my guess is that one of those things is probably has something to do with stretching or meditation or something like that. Is that fair?
Yes, that is very fair.
Okay. So maybe 3 stretches, actually 3 morning stretches.
And honestly, just breathing itself and noticing breath would be definitely on there.
How to breathe. How about that? How to breathe first thing in the morning. Something like that. So one of the points in this is breathe, which means that this YouTube video now very nicely fits into the blog post, and you're going to teach them how to breathe in the blog or in the video. So you're telling them to breathe in the blog post, and then you're embedding this video, teaching them how to do it. And I'm going to skip social for a minute, and I'm going to come to email. So when you're writing emails, the emails are a lot more personal. People are getting to know you. They've trusted you with their email address. And so you want to give them a story, give them a little piece of yourself to help them get to know you better and to feel more connected to you. So going back to the connection, right? They want to be connected to you. They want to learn more. So this is where we tell a story. It could be a personal story. So if you're writing about something that you have had an aha moment about, write about it. So maybe, Devon, there is something that you used to do that when you changed it, your mornings, your days like totally turned around. Like maybe you started charging your phone in the bathroom and it's in the other room instead of sitting next to your bed. Or maybe it's you used to like, your alarm would go off and you would just lay in bed and, you know, like just maybe it was scrolling through social, maybe it was, you know, whatever. But can you think of something that, like a story about how you have changed up your morning routine to make it a little bit better?
Yeah, personally, one of my favorite things to do first thing is check in with my son about dreams. And he usually has some pretty wild things that he's dreamt, or he has thoughts about just almost anything. And so he's kind of that anchor in the morning of like, he's usually the one waking me up anyways. And so just kind of checking in with him, and that keeps me off of the phone, that keeps me in the present moment. And then we start morning routine, which might come back to how do we breathe, drinking some warm water, like whatever the routine is, and tips that I'll use for the blog.
I love that. I love that, because that is a personal example. That's perfect. I want to piggyback that too with whenever you're writing content and creating content as the expert in the topic that you are presenting. So if it's something that you feel like you have totally failed at in the past, don't be afraid to tell people that. Don't be afraid to say, like, for example, for me, I preach like, make sure your content's consistent, have things coming out on a regular basis. I totally fail at that for myself. So I say, practice what I preach, not what do what I say, not what I do. So make sure that, like, it's okay to put out there things that you haven't done perfectly, because it makes you more human, which gets you a better connection with the people that you're talking to. So just everybody keep that in mind too, that it's okay to not be perfect. Nobody wants you to be perfect.
There's nothing I love more than squashing the guru approach.
Yes, exactly. I mean, because you feel like, if you're going to someone who like is perfect, like they're not relatable, and that's hard. The story though is super relatable, because I'm sure that a lot of people are in the same boat, and they, like having those conversations, you make a connection first thing in the morning with your son, which helps you feel more centered and balanced and all of that, instead of being frantic all over the place. And then for social media. So social media, again, it's going to connect to this topic. So this could be a lot of things. It could be you could include a favorite quote about connection, about, morning routines. It could be a Facebook Live about a change that you've made in your morning routine. Or it could be a Facebook Live about, maybe you see something. I do this sometimes. I see something on social media that kind of triggers me or sparks an idea. And so I'll get on Instagram stories and I'll talk about, whatever it is. And or I'm running a group program right now, and I like something that somebody says or a question that somebody asks will relate to whatever the current topic is. And so I can use that as content. So even though we're planning things out and trying to be really structured, there's still a lot of freedom for you to do some things on the fly. Honestly, having a structure is going to allow you to be more creative, and is going to allow you more space, because you already have things planned, and hopefully you already have things done and planned out ahead of time. And so then what I would do is so we've got a week's worth of content, right? You're sharing this blog post on social media, you're sharing this YouTube video on social media, you've got these other social ideas, you're sending an email to your audience, you're linking. So you talk about one of your favorite morning routine items, which is talking to your son. By the way, here are some things that you could be doing. You link to the blog post in your email, linking to the blog post. Which also shares the YouTube video, because that's embedded. See how everything's like interconnected?
Yeah.
And then we go on to the next week. And so we're still talking about connection to self. Let me look at the ideas over here. So maybe the next one is, another topic is,
can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
So for the social aspect of it, is my call to action always going to be back to the blog that gets them to my website so they see the YouTube video and a chance to sign up for the newsletter?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So when you're sharing the blog post, yes. When you're sharing the YouTube video, yes. When you are sharing a favorite quote, So maybe there's a quote about like morning routines and how to, I don't know, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but whatever, like you find a quote that resonates with you. In the caption, you talk about why it resonates with you. And then you can ask a question and ask people to share in the comments. So you're not, because ideally, like Facebook especially doesn't like it when you direct people away from the platform. They want people to stay on Facebook. So ask a question that elicits some sort of response. Like make sure that they are, you're asking them to respond. If you're doing a Facebook Live about routines, about your morning routine, ask people, rate your morning routine on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being the best. Like tell me what you rate your morning routine and why. So you're asking them to comment, and then they are giving you, they're giving you a rating and then telling you some stuff. And then that gives you the opportunity to go in and comment back. So you build up this rapport where you're having a conversation with your audience in Facebook, which Facebook loves. And I know Facebook is a pain in the butt.
Oh, yes. I feel like it's such a dying breed, but here we go. Here we go.
I know. I recommend you still use it. I really do. Be active, but a lot of people are heading over to Instagram, and that's not a terrible idea, is like to start building your Instagram audience.
Oh, but Instagram is where I am like the most active.
Yeah.
But again, those are more people my age, and a lot of my target population are maybe a generation older, which I do think are still on Facebook. So it would make sense for me to continue with that.
Yeah. Well, and this is exactly why it's so important to build that email list too, because you never know what's going to happen with the Facebook algorithms, with Instagram, with all of that. It's best to have your list, build your list, come up with these ideas like this, like the posture guide, come up with a couple of really good quality opt-ins for your audience. I would say 2 or 3, depending on the different types of audience members you have, but come up with a few of them and promote those. The more robust the opt-ins are, the better chance you'll have success with them. So make sure that they're really robust and high quality. And then just, I know that we have to hop off, or you need to hop off here in a minute, but just to go through some of these really quick. So habit changes to help you get more done. And then maybe the video is a video on, gosh, I can't think of one off the top of my head. Like what's a couple of habits that you would suggest that people change? I know a good habit to get more done, habit change. So meal prepping. I do meal prepping every weekend. So you could do like a meal prep video, even though that is
it could be all about my failures of trying to meal prep.
Yes, that's a fun one.
Yeah.
It's totally outside of anything that you teach your people. You can tell them to do this, but I know that you don't teach this necessarily, especially if you have a lot of failures. But it's a really, like, it's okay to provide content on things that you don't actually do for your clients, because it helps to create like more. I wouldn't do it a lot, but it just makes it a lot more well-rounded because they have that expert to come to. And then your social media, you could have links to meal prep like guides or something. So here's how to do it right. Follow these people. You're providing resources for your audience. And then your email could have something to do with like a different habit that you've tried to change, or it could be a story about a client story, obviously being, using confidentiality and not, divulging any names or anything, but it could be a story that you tell about a client. So there's tons of ways to build this out. And now I know that I did 2 weeks back to back here. That doesn't mean you have to blog every single week. It doesn't mean you have to have like 4 or 5 YouTube videos per month. This is just to kind of show you how to build that out. I do recommend emailing weekly, at the very least every other week, because it helps you to build that rapport and to stay in front of your audience. One of the things, Devon, that you and I know we talked about you including information about like upcoming public classes that you're holding, or you can also include links to other events that you're doing. Try to make sure that your emails always contain value, more information for your audience, versus trying to, hey, I'm running a special, come sign up for this class. Or, you know, like you want to offer a lot more value than you do sell, you know, trying to sell something.
Okay.
Whew. All right, I'm going to stop the share here. Yeah, so, I mean, I know you have to run, but what do you think? Are you overwhelmed?
No, actually the opposite, because what's overwhelming to me is to start what we started with, that vague list of topics, and then I sit down, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to create, and I look at it, I'm like, well, I don't know what the cuss to start with. So this really gives me a way, like even something as simple as you telling me to come up with questions about each of those topics, like that makes sense to my brain. If I'm having like the calendar set thing, like, and being able to do that so far in advance that like hopefully I'll get to the point where I'm working like a month out maybe. And so no, this is very much helpful. And the more that I have started to feel like I'm niching down, like I've already gotten comments like on my Instagram and like, oh, I didn't even know, or oh, your message is so much clearer now. And I think this is just going to add to that on a whole different level. So I'm super excited about it. Thank you so much for sharing all of this.
Good, awesome. I'm so glad. I will make sure to share the Google Doc that I was working off of with you so that you can have that. So.
Excellent. Yes, thank you so much. And thank you, Shannon. I know you're in there somewhere.
Hi, thanks, Devon. It was so amazing to listen to this, and I got a ton of ideas. So thank you for being up for doing that live.
Yeah.
I know you have to run because I think you have to go teach.
I had to go pick up Luke from school.
Right.
I will watch back to hear all of the questions and answers.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thanks, Devon.
Yes.
And so for everyone who's here live, wow, Abby, that was amazing. I love how you kept asking Devon questions. Like, we as yoga teachers we get used to saying the same things or learning about the same things, and it's not until someone else keeps asking us. Okay, go over that again. What does that actually mean? Yeah.
Yeah, you have to look at it from the perspective of your audience, because they don't, like, you have all this knowledge in your head, and so sometimes as the expert, when you talk about it, you're talking about it like other people know what you're talking about, and they don't. Right. And that's exactly why they need you as the yoga teacher. And there's whoops, right there. This is my other chair, that little yoga ball that I use sometimes to sit on. But like, they need you, but they don't know how to ask for it. You know, as someone who is not knowledgeable about yoga or whatever your expertise is, they don't know how to ask for the help because they don't know what they need. When people come to me for content, they think they need this, but I know they really need this. And so I have to talk to them in the right way to get them to, oh yeah, that is really what I need. So, yes. And I'm sure that you guys have people coming into your practices all the time in the same, you know, in the same things.
Yes, it's so true. Okay, so let's get to some of the questions. I know Marcy and anyone else who has a question, feel free to post your questions in the Q&A now if you're over on our Zoom, and I will check the Facebook in a moment as well. So Marcy asks, when sharing content online, how often, ratio, I love that she wants a math ratio. Should you share other people's content and blog posts versus those you wrote yourself? Any limits?
I would say there's not necessarily, I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a limit, but I would make sure that you're sharing your own content more than you're sharing other people's, especially if you have a lot of content to put out there, that I would definitely share more. And so I know that some people hesitate about sharing other people's content, but when you share other people's content, you show your audience that you are a lifelong learner, that you are interested in bettering yourself and continuing to learn for the benefit of your clients, your students, your audience. And so it is really helpful to share other people's information, if that makes sense.
So helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's your quote unquote competition, it's still okay. It's still okay to do, because people are coming to you for a reason. It's your personality, it's your style. Other people have similar knowledge, or they might have more knowledge in one area, and it's okay to share their content, even if you feel like they're competition. If they are yoga teachers also, everybody does things differently, and there's a reason why people are coming to you versus to them.
Right. Okay. And that makes so much sense. Like on the podcast, then I have guests in, like say we had Gil Headley talking about fascia, and he knows so much about fascia. So he knows way more than me. And that doesn't mean that, yoga teachers are going to not reach out to me or not check out the podcast. It brings even more people then for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So we've answered that question.
In the Zoom chat.
Well, one question I had for you, when you said the email every week, and if not every week, every other week, I know so many yoga teachers tell me, well, I don't want to bother people with email. So what would you say to them?
I would say do it anyway. It's not bothering people. It's an email in the inbox. So you guys are yoga teachers are working with they're B2Cs, so you're working with consumers. So when you look at when I look at my personal email account versus my business email account, I'm much more like, if it's something that's important to me, I look at emails from my daughter's school. I look at emails from, I'm trying to think, like my gym. There are things that are important to me that I'll look at. And yoga, if somebody is going to yoga, they want to practice, they want better health, they want, more centeredness, more mindfulness. It's like you're not bothering them. The worst that they can do is unsubscribe or just ignore the email. And if they choose to do that, then that's fine. I mean, it's one click to unsubscribe. It's not bothering them. It's keeping you top of mind. Like, oh, my neck hurts, my back hurts. And then, oh, this email pops up. I need to go to one of these classes. I need to book a consult. I need to, do whatever. You're staying top of mind. They're much more likely to see that than they are to see your Facebook posts and your Instagram posts. So right. Continue to email. You're not selling, you're giving value. Give more value in your emails, and I think you'll feel a lot better about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Some people had put they were mapping out their zones of genius already in the comments. Let me see. Like Marcy said, chair yoga, yoga for aging gracefully, yoga for flexibility. Oh yeah, and Dawn had said for Devon, and when you were mapping this out, the importance of time out during the day to increase productivity, enhance relationships. She also had another idea for Devon of meditation at your desk, clean your desk to quiet your mind and think clear.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and then Judy, her zones of genius were kids yoga, yoga for aging, mindfulness, meditation. So any of you that are here live, if you have questions, ask Abby now. She's here, and I am doing a course with Abby right now, and it is 8 weeks, I want to say.
Yeah, 8 weeks.
And what are we at? Week 4 or 5? 5.
Yeah.
And it has been amazing for my own content and making that content connect back. So thank you for doing this.
Anybody who's listening to, I mean, I know you have your own, you have a community of yoga teachers around you. I love that you guys are giving Devon suggestions in the comments. That's awesome. Bounce ideas off of each other. I mean, just like what I did with Devon, this is not my zone of genius. So I had to ask questions. So ask people who, talk to people, talk to other yoga teachers, talk to customers, survey your audience. I'll get the survey worksheet and all of that over to you. But make sure that you talk to people, because the more you talk to people, the better your ideas are going to be, the more well-rounded. And like, I don't know about any of you, but when I left my full-time job and I work in my home office with my dog, and it's lonely. Reach out, make connections with each other, and help each other, because we're not meant to do this all by ourselves all the time. It feels like it sometimes, but not really.
Yeah, it was so fun because when Devon was her and I had talked, and then she was like making a Instagram story, I said to her, I don't see an Instagram story there about, I know you just went and taught corporate yoga. Like, where's that story? And then I was thinking, oh, wait a second, I didn't do a story on my own thing today. So it is really nice to have someone else kind of call you out. Like,
yeah, exactly. Are there any other questions?
Any other questions? I feel like a lot of people had said on Facebook, oh, wow, I'm going to be back here to watch the replay.
Well, I can check back if you want to tag me. If you have a question and you want to tag me in the question, feel free to do that, and I can hop back in and type an answer for you. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
That's good. Good. Oh, there was one other one that I saw. Oh, maybe if you can talk a little bit about making email easier in terms of, because you said have it ahead of time. And so often I feel like I have my email, like, now I'm getting better at having the main things that I'm adding to my email, but how do we make it still personal yet ahead of time? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, so just like how I was mapping out the story that goes with the YouTube video, that goes with the blog and all of that, so you can do that. Sometimes, so I have one client who her email goes out on Tuesdays, and I'm the one who writes it for her. I'm always finishing it on Monday, because we have like live videos that we're linking to, and we have other things that need to go in there. So, but I have the body of it done, and then it's just kind of sitting in a Google Doc ready for me to then start adding like those last little things. I know what needs to be added, and so I have it bracketed out. So you can do that too, where you have it mostly done, but then you go in and you clean it up right beforehand, and then you can go in and schedule it and get it ready to go. But I think having that plan, knowing even if you just know what the topic is going to be, is a whole lot easier than you sitting there the night before it has to go out and thinking, oh my God, what am I going to send to my audience today?
Yeah.
If you're having events, you know what those events are going to be well beforehand, right? Like because you have to publicize them, you have to have space for them. So you know what the events are going to be. Map those out. Have a little template that you have formatted already that has the main pieces in there, and then just kind of add in. I saw somebody just an email. Nicole asked about an email company. So I personally use ActiveCampaign, and I love it. It's not free, but it's also really inexpensive if you pay yearly and you have less than 500 people on your list. It's like $9 a month if you have less than 500 people on your list, and then it kind of tiers up. You have to pay yearly for that. I think MailChimp, if you're uncomfortable with paying for email and you're not segmenting your list into different types of audience members. So like for Devon, she has her corporate people, she has one-on-one coaching people, she has people who have been interested in tarot. So those are like different segments of your audience. If you don't have segments like that, I think MailChimp is okay. I have a couple of clients who are using MailChimp. I prefer ActiveCampaign. Constant Contact, I would not recommend. I've used that before. MailChimp doesn't have great deliverability rates. You really want a provider that is as non-graphic as possible. So MailChimp is really easy to add a bunch of graphics and to make it really pretty, and that's great, but it makes the file size larger, which makes deliverability rates go down. And a lot of email services like Google and Yahoo and all that, they recognize MailChimp emails and automatically dump them into spam. So yes. ConvertKit is another good one that I've also used. However, it's more expensive than ActiveCampaign. So I love ActiveCampaign.
Those are the main ones that I know. There's also another one that our yoga teachers will talk about. I think it's called, I want to say it's called NamaStream, but I'm not certain. I've never used it though. I just know some people really like the foundation of the company, but I don't know that they have that tag ability. And
yeah,
I think that's one of the key things.
Yes, if you have different audiences, different types of people that you like to target, then being able to tag people, which basically is just how you segment your list, is hugely beneficial. And then Nicole, your question about good headings to get people to open. So there is a, it's a CoSchedule subject line analyzer. So it's a free service that you can use to help you with your subject lines. It has I think it's coschedule.com/subject-line-analyzer, I think is the whole URL. But that it's totally free. I think you get added to their email list for using it, but it's totally free. I would recommend that. Oh, perfect. I would recommend that, or if depending on what email provider you use, there's A/B testing, which means that you can enter you can have the same email, enter two different subject lines. It will test out those subject lines on 5 or 10% of your list. And then after 3 or 4 hours, it'll look at, okay, which of those subject lines got the most opens, and then it'll send to the rest of your list with that subject line, the winning subject line. So you can do that too. And then those are my two main suggestions for subject lines. And sometimes it's a matter of playing around with it too and seeing what is your audience paying attention to. So everything in this online marketing world is a lot of testing and playing around and seeing what's working and what's not. So that's my best advice, which isn't very helpful, but it's true.
I like that there's no set answer.
Yeah.
So we're all just guessing and playing around until it changes and does something different. That's
yes. It's a lot of, it depends.
So we still have time for more questions if you want to put them in the Q&A, but if anyone is wanting to reach out, Abby, you have some great YouTube videos, blogs, content out there on creating content. Where can they find all of that?
That is all on abbymherman.com. That's my website. I have links to my YouTube videos there. I have YouTube videos embedded in my, if you go to the menu bar at the top, there is a button called resources. And if you click on that, you can go to, I have I call it my free member hub or my free content hub. And basically it is just a ton of freebies. I used to do a lot of different downloadables and a lot of different freebies, and I only do a couple of main ones now. But if you go to, so you can go in there and you can grab all the freebies that you want. There's videos in there. There's courses and programs in there. There's a free 7-day welcome sequence challenge that's free, and it walks you through how to create your own welcome sequence, because when people come on your list, you want to welcome them to your list. You want them to get to know you a little bit better right away. And if you have like low priced products and services that they can buy from you, you can qualify them as buyers by giving them the option to buy that. So, and I teach you how to do that in the Welcome Sequence Challenge. So
that's amazing. I can see that all of your stuff is in there for people. That's really handy.
yes.
Very handy. Okay. I think we have all of the questions answered.
Awesome. Yeah, if anybody else has any other questions, just pop them into the tag me, because it'll be easier for me to see, but tag me in the live on Facebook, and I am happy to pop in there and answer.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time today, Abby. This has been amazing. And yeah, we just really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great day.